Would you put your health at risk for a role? Maisie Williams starred in the 2024 drama The New Look, and fans noticed that the name of the series fit the actress well. She was playing the role of Catherine Dior, a woman that has been through it physically and emotionally, and Williams made sure that she looked the part, but at what cost? Apparently, she could barely sleep through the night, and she definitely wasn't eating. Speaking with Harper's Bazaar UK, she shared the little foods she did have during filming, and also what her routine looked like. She said there was lots of meditating and candles and incense burning. Her day started at 4 a.m., but not always for filming purposes. Instead, it was to start sweating. At around 7 or 8 p.m., the actress would eat smoked salmon and some wine or just something dehydrating. The next step was a hot bath with salts and then off to bed, where she said that she would only sleep for roughly 3 hours and then would wake up to eat a handful of nuts, often not sleeping through the night. It sounds rough, and it was. She had to get regular checkups with medical professionals, tests, and even heart rate measurements to make sure that she was okay. But when you think of Hollywood actors that immerse themselves in a role, Christian Bale should probably be at the forefront of your mind. This man has gone from 120 to 220 pounds within a year. While his commitment to a role is to be respected, that doesn't mean it's always safe, and definitely not something to try at home. See, when you hear about actors losing or gaining a lot of weight for roles, they might joke that all they did was eat a lot of junk food or only drink water and eat apples, but the reality is that many famous people have teams that work with them to create a diet to get them to the finish line as safe as possible. That is how Bale got himself from the malnourished Trevor in The Machinist to the strong Bruce Wayne in Batman Begins. Personal trainers also help you know what to eat to gain the pounds where you want them, because the same weight can look very different if it's all muscle. When Bale was getting ready to play Batman, he got up to that 220, but he ended up actually looking a bit too buff, like absolute Batman, I'm guessing, for our comic fans out there. So he ended up losing about 30 of those pounds again to achieve the Bruce Wayne look. But you might recall, or not, that Bale was also around 230 pounds in American Hustle and also in Vice, and his character was not a buff superhero physique in those. Of course, people can choose to just eat a lot of pies like Bale claimed that he did when gaining the weight for the title role in Vice, but usually the big household names, they're able to change their body shape so drastically because they have access to those that understand how to get there without literally passing away, because that is a real possibility. Every time Christian Bale loses or gains weight for a role, because it happens more than you would think, the man is a chameleon, experts warn the general public about following in his footsteps. Losing and also gaining extreme amounts of weight quickly stresses out the body. You risk messing with your metabolism and organs, including the heart. You increase your risk of illness and disease, and sometimes you won't even feel the effects until much later. Bale recognizes the risks of weight fluctuations and has spoken out about it, even promising to himself not to do it anymore, but then, you know, a great role comes along and things might change. Hugh Jackman had no idea that by playing Wolverine in a shot-in-the-dark comic book movie, he would become tethered to that role for the rest of his life, which is an amazing thing because he is the Wolverine, but it comes with its own set of challenges, like extreme body transformations. Sure, in the OG movies, the type of body that looked strong to the public was way more authentic to what a strong body actually looks like in real life. This might shock you, but the average strong person doesn't have the washboard abs look. Not that they don't have defined abs, but the ultra defined, like someone increased the contrast in real life look. A person usually has to lose water weight to get it. So that means no drinking water at all. When Jackman and other superhero stars began talking about this publicly, it raised a question with the public. Is seeing a 10-pack in 4K really worth an actor dehydrating himself for days? However, Jackman's dehydration is nothing compared to what this man will do for musical theater. Hugh Jackman famously starred as Jean Valjean in the movie musical Les Mis. Jackman said while promoting the film that the prep for his opening sequence was harder than anything he'd ever done for a superhero movie, at least until that point. His character begins his journey just getting out of a 19-year prison sentence that featured lots of hard labor and little food, so the character physically has to look awful and malnourished. The tricky part is he would also need to look strong because of the labor, but also sickly because of the starvation, and he also needed to sing. The director told the actor that he had to look so strikingly thin that his friends would think he was actually sick. That meant that he would be making multiple gym trips a day and eating just enough to not totally pass out. He almost did though. On the day of shooting, the actor admitted to being grumpy, dizzy, and in pain. In preparation for the 12-hour shoot day, the actor hadn't drank anything for 36 hours, but he says it was all worth it. Fans adored Henry Cavill's Witcher, and the actor adored the role to the point where he could smell water. Hugh Jackman spoke about dehydrating for an aesthetic, and Henry Cavill is continuing that conversation. Cavill's character, the Witcher in The Witcher, is pretty buff because he fights monsters all the time. There was a scene in the show where Cavill was shirtless, and he went through all the diet gymnastics to keep that defined physique, but the actor also brought up that he didn't drink water for 3 days before shooting. I imagine he probably didn't drink much of anything else either, considering he claimed that by shooting, he could smell water, which is kind of cruel considering the shot that he was prepping for took place in a hot tub. Part of me hopes that he was just joking, though I don't doubt that he was incredibly parched in that moment. Matthew McConaughey starred in the Dallas Buyers Club, and it's considered one of his best performances to date. His acting was stellar, but audiences couldn't help but notice that the man was considerably slimmer than what they were used to seeing. Despite worry, the actor assured people that he got the look in a healthy manner, eating fresh fish, tapioca pudding, and wine in small amounts. Not starving himself, but just eating less. And well, actually, the wine didn't need to be in small amounts. But he said the hardest part of it all was making the darn choice. He was playing a character living with HIV, and so he wanted to pay homage to their life as much as he could. Jake Gyllenhaal ended up permanently changing his body after filming 2014's Nightcrawler. Okay, maybe I'm being a bit dramatic, but technically I am not lying, he ended up with a scar. He also lost 30 pounds to play Lou Bloom, but that wasn't a permanent change by any means. Nightcrawler was about a cameraman obsessed with getting the coveted money shot. The reason Gyllenhaal found himself losing weight was not just to physically look like the character, he also suggested it was to get into his mental state as well. He said that the character was always hungry, literally of course, but also figuratively speaking. He was hungry for that money shot. So, in Jake's words, he said that he got into the mode where he was always a bit hungry. Despite him physically changing considerably, Gyllenhaal has said that he doesn't view the weight loss as anything but getting into character. And when people asked how he did it, the actor simply said that he had no technique and it was the love of the film. And then regarding that scar, there's a scene in the movie in which he smashes a mirror. Andra received rave reviews for her performance as Billie Holiday in 2021's The United States vs. Billie Holiday. It was her first acting role, and the actress admitted that she felt nervous about that and was willing to do anything to make sure she did the role justice, including getting the body of the era, in her words, and even adopting some damaging habits. Day ended up losing 39 pounds, going from 163 to 124. She said she did it because she didn't want her body to look like a gym body of 2020. She wanted to physically look more accurate to the period, but she doesn't recommend how she got there. She said that the lack of food made her feel weak. She took up smoking and drinking, which did make her feel more like the character. However, that was something the performer has stayed away from in the past, as she is a singer first, and those activities can be damaging to the vocal cords. Though she had nothing to be nervous about with her acting debut, it's understandable that the actress still felt that way, especially considering she was playing the iconic Billie Holiday. She said she was desperate and didn't want to be terrible. She was nominated for an Oscar and won a Golden Globe. In a slightly less extreme version of an actor taking on an iconic musician role and changing their body to do it, we have Timothee Chalamet. He starred in last year's A Complete Unknown, and he was also nominated for an Oscar in that role. Now, both Bob Dylan and Chalamet, they're pretty skinny guys, but Lil Timmy Tim was actually too skinny for the part, or he felt like he was. He shared on the All Things Considered podcast that he gained 20 pounds to play Dylan, in addition to also learning how to play guitar and sing. You might recall that Hugh Jackman lost a lot of weight for his Les Mis role, but he wasn't the only cast member to do it. Anne Hathaway was also eating what was described as rabbit food to get into the mindset of her character, Fantine. The musical takes place during a revolution, and lots of the characters are having a rough go at it, but it was still a shock to viewers when Hathaway appeared on the screen looking nothing like herself, and extremely frail. It of course became a topic of conversation, but all Hathaway was willing to reveal was that her diet was called starvation. The actress lost 25 pounds for the role, 10 before and 15 during. Though Hathaway was reluctant to share what she eats in a day, her younger co-star wasn't. She said that she was eating a lot of salad and vegetables, and was the one to describe the diet as rabbit food. Not only did Anne Hathaway opt to lose weight for the role, but also her hair. In the musical, the character has her hair cut, so Hathaway decided to actually cut her hair off for the film. Hathaway ended up winning an Oscar in Best Supporting Actress for the role. Chris Hemsworth shocked fans when he posted his extreme transformation for the movie In the Heart of the Sea. Hemsworth was barely recognizable in his photo. For one, he is pretty dirty and has long facial hair, but more than that, fans were concerned because he was very slim in the shot. He looked like someone stranded at sea for 90 days, because that was the point. Hemsworth drew attention to his physical appearance with his caption, "Just tried a new diet/training program called Lost at Sea, wouldn't recommend it." Hemsworth had already slimmed down for the thriller Black Cat before Heart of the Sea. I mean, like, in comparison to his Norse god Thor's stature, but he lost an additional 15 pounds for Heart of the Sea and described it as exhausting. He shared that bulking up for a role is way better than losing weight. There is a mental toll as much as a physical one, and he said that he was almost playing mind games with himself with what he could and couldn't eat and when. His diet apparently had him clocking around 500 calories a day. Hemsworth said the process of looking like his character actually ended up helping him get better in the mindset. At the time, he ended up saying that not much acting was really required on his part because he actually was that desperate. But what do you think about this? Let us know in the comments, and if you're looking for more, check out the rest of the channel. Thanks for watching. Bye!